Okay, so today is Wednesday, and Wednesday's maths, we are ordering numbers with up to 2 decimal points. So instead of rounding like we did yesterday, we're moving on to ordering them, okay? So we've got to use that really good knowledge that we should have of place value and understanding the numbers and the values of all the different digits in our numbers. Now, we'll be able to see how well you understand that with today's work. So let's start off with this example. Okay, so this is level 1. Level 1 looks like this. Okay, now we've got to order the numbers that are represented here. And the first thing that I would do with this is I would write underneath each one the fractions, okay? So if I can see them as fractions, it's going to be easier to turn those fractions into decimals and then to compare them. So let's have a go at doing that one step at a time, okay? So here we go. I've put my fractions in, and just as a reminder, to work out my fractions, the denominator, so the number that goes underneath the line, is how many equal bits that the square is chopped up into. The numerator, the number on the top, is how many of those are shaded. So this is cut into 10 equal pieces. So that's my 10, and 6 of those are shaded. Okay, I've done the same thing with this one. So this is 8 tenths. This one is 33 hundredths. So this one, instead of being chopped into 10 equal pieces, it's chopped into 100 equal pieces. But to maybe make it easier for me to work out the decimal, I've done just like we did earlier on this week. I've put that 33 hundredths into tenths and hundredths, which might make it easier for some of you when you're thinking about your place value. And I've done the same thing with this one here, okay? So starting off by writing the fraction for each of those pictures will be a good way to start. Once I've got those as fractions, I can then convert those fractions to decimals, okay? So I've put again here this, which I know that lots of you have been using, this place value grid, okay, which just helps me to remember those words and where they are placed in terms of that decimal point, okay? So 6 tenths, I've got 0.6, 8 tenths, 0.8. Remember that the tenths are on the right of the decimal point. Then I've got my 3 tenths and 3 hundredths, and here I've got my 5 tenths and 1 hundredth. You should be feeling quite confident with that. Lots of you have done really well with that earlier on this week, okay? So once I've done that and I've got those numbers as decimals, I can then look at comparing them and ordering them, okay? And we're going to do this in a kind of really systematic and logical way. So the way we do that is we go back to our place value grid, okay? Now I'm going to start from the left, okay? If I've got any hundreds or tens or ones, I want to look at those first, okay? Now with my numbers, I don't have any ones. The ones are all 0, okay? They're all the same. So I can't really, that doesn't really help me to compare and order those numbers because they're all 0. So then I have to look at the next digit on the right, which is our tenths, okay? So I'm looking at the tenths next, and I'm going to compare those. And I'm going to start with the biggest and order it to the smallest, okay? Now it's really, if I'm just looking at the tenths, I don't need to look at the hundredths. So that 3 there and that 1 there, you don't need to worry about those at the moment. So the biggest one, if I'm looking at my tenths, we've got an 8 tenths there, okay? So that's going to be my biggest. Then I've got 6 tenths, 5 tenths, and 3 tenths, okay? Because the tenths are all different, it's easy to order those. So just a quick reminder, start with the ones. If they're all the same as these are all 0, I look at the next digit on the right, the tenths, okay? And I can use that to compare and order them. So from the largest to the smallest, 0.8, 0.6, 0.51, 0.33, okay? Now, gets a bit more complicated if you've got some digits which are the same number, okay? Let's have a quick look at this one. So I want to order these. Now I'm going to start with my ones, but that's not very helpful because my ones are all the digit 3. Okay, so I can't order those because that's all the same. So what do I have to do? I have to look at the next digit on the right. I have to look at the tenths, okay? Now that's pretty useful because I've got 8, 3, 4 and 3, okay? So that's easy to start with. 3.8, that's our biggest. Then I've got 3.4. Now it gets a bit tricky because for this one and for that one, they are both of the tenths digits are 3. So then what do I have to do? I have to look at the next digit on the right, which is my hundredths digit. Now this one is 7 hundredths. This is a bit tricky because it doesn't have a hundredths. If there's nothing there, we could put in a 0, that's our space holder. So that's 7 hundredths and that's 0 hundredths, which means that this one is bigger than that one. Okay, so let's have a quick look at this one. So let's have a quick look. So it should be 3.88, 3.4, 3.37 and 3.3. Let's have a quick look at this one. Again, we've got that same problem where the ones digit is 1 for all of them. So I have to look at the tenths. Okay, that's a bit more straightforward because the tenths are all different. So I've got 9 tenths, so 1.9 is the biggest. Then I've got 8 tenths, so 1.81 is the next one. Then 1.6 and then 1.07, okay? I don't have to worry about the hundredths here unless there are numbers where the tenths are the same digit, okay? So your work for today, we've got 2 levels and you only have to complete one of these levels. So have a good look at it first, think about what I've just been teaching you and think about which level you want to go for. Don't forget to challenge yourself, okay? If you're finding level 1 too easy, stop and start level 2. We want to see that progress. We want to see you pushing yourselves as well, just like you do in class. Okay, so for each of these, you've got those three numbers there in grey. You've got to order those. And these ones, you've got 4 sets of numbers for each of those, and you need to order those. Okay, so have a go, challenge yourself, remember the rules, think logically, and good luck.